So I told someone in life that I don't drink and I don't smoke. And it was crazy to me when I saw that the person looked at me weirdly that I didn't do that. We're going to talk about gut health today and really just tackling one of the subjects of why alcohol is horrible for you. And what's crazy to me, it kind of struck making a video based upon that they looked at me weird because I don't drink and I don't smoke and I'm completely sober. Looking at me weird is what America has turned people into now, that alcoholism has become a prerequisite of life. And I want to go over basically how bad it is for your gut and essentially how bad it is for your mind, because as you know on this channel, we talk about the gut-mind connection. So with alcohol, you have to understand one of the biggest facts that scientists are slowly kind of coming to is that dementia and Alzheimer's is actually being divulged as a sign of diabetes. It's essentially connected to diabetes. This is something that has been a prerequisite of alcoholism, is typically almost 90% of the time, or at least around there, people that have high alcoholism develop dementia or Alzheimer's. They end up getting that. And the reason behind that is because alcohol goes into your gut and destroys it. We talk about on this channel all the time of the microbiome and everything that is uniquely successful to your gut's ecosystem to thrive, and how that connection goes straight up to your brain so that you can function at your highest level. And one of the things that no one's going to tell you, because America has designed it as such a big money scheme to make most people alcoholics, it essentially destroys your gut lining, it destroys your gut bacteria, and it goes into your blood. That's what's crazy about alcohol, is that it goes into your blood, so it takes days to evacuate it out of your blood in your body. That is why alcohol is such a horrible thing that we have all become accustomed to. And in retrospect and in reality of when I discuss this, quitting alcohol is probably the best thing you can do. And realistically, having a few drinks every single week keeps it in your system. Now, I'm not going to tell you to completely go sober like I have, but what I'm going to tell you here in this video is that when you decide to get rid of alcohol or slowly start limiting it in your life, you're going to start to see the effects of what happens when you don't have it in your system. The reality is, when you feel drunk or hungover, any of those different instances, because your body, it's not because you're dehydrated, it's because your body has taken in a toxin and it has slowly, I don't want to say any rough names, but has slowly decreased the level of your mind and body full connection that you normally would have. And that's why you feel drunk, and that's why you feel intoxicated, because your gut has digested this, it's gone into your liver, it's been tried to get out of your system by going into your blood, and that then affects your brain, which affects motor skills and all of the different things that we've all known for when we've been intoxicated. So one of the things that we can talk about as well is leaky gut, and sugar is also another component of these things. But the reason what leaky gut is referred to is essentially when you have a hole in your intestine. How that happens, especially with alcoholism, is because this destroys your gut biome and layer of protection in your intestines. And over time, if you consume a lot of alcohol, what ends up going down in your intestines is that layer gets diminished. You have no protection against any sort of toxins in your body. So not only does it form a hole in your intestines, that then creeps out into the rest of your body, which causes stomach aches and all sorts of irritation and fatigue. And it's really one of the worst things that you could possibly have with your body. But these things will get bigger and bigger over time if you continue in the consumption. So causing of the leaky gut is one of the worst things that alcohol actually does for you. It pretty much forms a hole in your intestines and allows toxins to seep into the rest of your body. And what that ends up doing is causes liver disease. It causes metabolic diseases. It causes cardiovascular. In simpler terms, it messes with your heart. It messes with your metabolism. It messes with your liver. And on top of that, it messes with brain inflammation. Because of the inflammation in your gut, then your brain starts becoming inflamed, and that kills blood cells. And that's what leads to, eventually down the road, of what we were talking about with Alzheimer's being diabetes, because these things start happening slowly as your gut continues taking in this toxin. And it ends up getting to a point where you have fatty liver. Your brain isn't functioning properly because when you constantly have inflammation anyway in your body, sends blood cells out, and those blood cells die. You can't reproduce them. You're losing blood cells, and that's what causes diseases and problems in your body. And realistically, alcohol is probably the strongest toxin that most of us put in our body that ends up causing inflammation. And what these things are typically linked to is cancer, heart disease, liver disease, early signs of aging, even things like that. All sorts of diseases are caused from the early onset of alcoholism in our bodies, and it's what America kind of plays on for all of us. I know specifically in my youth, I was a heavy drinker, and when I decided to stop drinking is when you start realizing how your body functions when you're not drinking. And you realize how bad that this actually is. And it all connects from your gut and your mind. When you have an inflamed gut and you have a gut that isn't properly doing things, this is what your brain feeds on, which then if you have inflammation down there, you then get it in your brain. And that's what kills the blood cells. It kills the functioning of how you reproduce white and red blood cells and make your brain function at a high level. And memory, all of these different anxiety, mental disorders, all of that comes from when you have an inflamed brain. The neurological pathway from your gut to your brain gets destroyed. And this is what leads to these early onsets of mental disorders, and then eventually down the road, much more serious things. So what I can tell you today, and one of the coolest things about your body, and this is why, I'm a biblical man. This is why God tells you not to become a drunk and not to drink. Because what happens with your body as well, with this God-given gift, is that it can regenerate. That's the beauty of this over time body-mind connection, is that this stuff can regenerate if you stop intoxicating it. And what ends up happening when you start eating healthier and you cut the alcoholism that you had, is your gut bacteria starts coming back. The leaky gut, your layer comes back, and you don't have leaky gut anymore. It improves your digestion. Your brain to gut connection starts increasing. Your red blood cells start reproducing, and all of these different things happen. Your immune system goes up when you cut alcohol. And again, you have to realize that it's not just the feeling that you're getting. You have to realize that there's a reason why you feel that way. And it's because it's a toxin. Alcohol is a toxin, and America is designing you to intake that toxin for fun. And the reality is that fun is just depression being packaged in a different way. You do these things because you're not happy with yourself. And when you're not happy with yourself, instead of going towards God or, Jesus, you start going towards a bottle and doing different things. And this is why your gut is perfectly replicated to the way God created it. If you do the things that you need to do properly, you have no problems in your body. But if you go to all these worldly type of things, alcohol, bad food, your gut's going to get destroyed. And this is what's going to lead to a lot of the problems that you have in your life. And we talk about a video like this, circling back to the beginning, where you're looked at weird because you don't drink alcohol and you don't do all these different extracurricular things. When you realize that the world is designing itself so that you do develop alcoholism and mental disabilities and push yourself farther away from your true purpose, is you realize that America is trying to get you hooked on a toxin so that you stupefy your life and don't realize your full potential by eating God's own food and following the true purpose that you have. So please, when you're watching this video, alcohol is so bad for you. And realistically, even a few drinks out of the week probably aren't great either. The reality of the situation is that you have to find the true reason why you're going to this, and not it's fun or happiness because you eventually see that the next day you feel miserable. You have to realize why you're developing this. And understand that America is developing this in everyone so that they can't realize how beautiful their gut and their mind connection can be, and how wonderful your mind can function if you just eat God's own food. And you'll be good. Like and subscribe if you like the video. Love you all. Peace.